Hey guys, I thought I'd take a little time and show you a few different ways to feed video signals into these old vintage sets. We do have one over the air station in Chicago that's on channel 6, but unless you're right in the heart of the city, you have a good antenna, you're really not going to be able to pick it up. And even if you do, it only simulcasts light jazz with WFMT, I think. And it's just still images of the city, so that's not really much of an option. You could get that UHF converter I showed in one of my earlier videos, the TC101, which will pick up a few more of the old analog broadcasts that are still in the UHF band. But more practical thing to do is to get a DTV converter box that has an output, analog RF output on channel 3 or 4. One thing you'll probably need to do though is get one of these converters from the coax cable to these twin lead spade terminals, and on a set like this, oh by the way, this set is a Motorola VT71. I believe it was the first sub $200 TV from about 1948, 7-inch electrostatic set. It's an odd design, interesting to work on, no transformer, and an electrostatic tube. Basically they needed to cut as many corners as they could to get the price down. So like I said, it's a very unusual design compared to other sets of that time. Here's what the insides look like. Anyways, here's where the antenna attaches. These spade terminals here. Ground's in the middle, and there's two labeled A. I believe one is for channels 2 through 7, the other for 8 through 13. There's a bit of a frequency gap between the two. I got this set on channel 3, so I'll use the lower set. So one in there, and one in there. Yep. And grab a screwdriver, hang on. Okay, I've got that hooked up. So let's power up this set. I don't expect too much because these old electrostatic sets, the picture tubes aren't too bright. It's not the most stable of beasts, but I've got this one tuned up fairly well. Something else odd about these is the tuner. It only has 8 positions. They just went with channels 2-3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-9, 10-11, 12-13. When you would order these, I guess you would tell the dealer which channels you wanted, and they would tune the internal coils to those stations. The idea being that you wouldn't have adjacent stations in the same area, like you wouldn't have both channels 2 and 3 in the same city. So, here's the picture, and see if I can find the converter box. There we go. So these are finicky sets, so I gotta twiddle with the horizontal hold. Put down the camera while I do that. Okay, I've got it tuned in about as good as it's gonna get. I mentioned while I was working on my last couple sets that these digital converter boxes don't play nice with these vintage sets quite often. The output levels can be a little too high, or the way the audio and frequency are modulated. They just don't like them, so. And I got bad audio. Picture's not so hot. Quite often you get audio, you have to tune it so the video's bad and vice versa. So, not really the greatest option. Something else you can try is if you have an older DVD player, like I've got an old Apex here from around 2000. That has an RF out, or if you have an old VCR, you could try that, or an old cable box. Basically anything that has a channel 3 or 4 output. VCRs can be especially nice because quite often they have a video input, so you could use it just as a modulator use it as an RF modulator, I should say. Now, even if any of those work for you, when you get to be a more serious collector like myself and you've got about a dozen plus TVs, it can get kind of expensive to buy all these converter boxes, adapters, or to string them all up with a common cable and so on. Yeah, so you can actually fire up now and then, maybe show them off to your friends and so on. So there is something else you can do, which is to get yourself either one of these guys or one of these guys. What these are video modulators, just like I mentioned with your VCR with the channel 3 or 4 output, but these put out a lot more power, enough to that you can actually attach an antenna and broadcast a couple hundred feet. What these were originally intended for, like this one, you can see it says HBO channel 44. This might be like for a hotel or an apartment building, where they would run a signal over a cable to every room and every TV in the place. But in lieu of attaching a cable to it, like on the RF output here, well, you can just attach a short length of I shouldn't say bare wire, just a short length of unshielded wire, and it'll actually broadcast a bit. Now, there are FCC regulations in place. These are not amateur bands that you're free to just broadcast on. So you want to use as little power as you need to get a clean signal. So there is an output level on this. So if you're going to use one of these, I suggest you don't leave it on all the time, and you adjust this output level as low as you can to still get a good signal. The difference between these models are, these are BAVM audio video modulators, and you can see there's a 5 here and a 3 here. These are fixed frequencies. This will only broadcast in channel 5, only on channel 3. They're preset inside. But these are small and they're cheap. I think I got both of these for about 10 bucks. A couple downsides to them are annoying things. The power cords are very short, only about 1 foot long. They're also rack mounts. I don't have a rack currently. I may pick up like one of those portable DJ racks to put this in. But for now, I just kind of have them hanging around and banging around. Other annoying thing on the back is that the inputs on these are F connectors, I think they're called. So I had to go out and pick up a couple F connector to RCA adapters so I can plug in the standard left-right audio and video cables for my DVD player. Last problem, they're mono. So here's my left and right. I can only plug one in right now. What I should really do is use a couple resistors and capacitors and make a network to combine the left and the right into a mono channel to feed in. But for now, I'll just use this one channel. Now this guy, which I think I paid about $25 for, has more output power, and you see here it says Agile Modulator. You can program this with these little dip switches to broadcast on any channel. I think from channels like 2 through 88, something along those lines. And there's also more controls, and you get more status indicators. Like you can actually adjust the input levels, and you get LEDs that indicate if you're overpowering the input. And you have little adjustments here so you can cut the levels down and so on. But for right now, I'm going to demonstrate with this side, just because it was easy for me to hook it up quickly to demonstrate here. So I'm going to put the camera down, swap out some antennas, and show you how these guys work.